come up when it's meant to in the meditation, you'll have a much better time of it. Because what happens when we are trying to control what we see, it makes us more stressed and anxious. Like, I'll just tell you that the minute you lock on to that energy of control, you are going to create more stress and anxiety for yourself anyway. So it's kind of interesting that we do the thing that's going to make us worse. So just go into it saying, I'm just going to be really loose and not have any attachment to what shows up for me. Then I'll figure it out after. Okay. So that's the best way that you can stop doing it. Next person. Next question.
Hi, Colette. You spoke about having feelings of just knowing. I'm finding that working with a business coach, as amazing as it is, I'm sometimes unsure if what I'm doing is getting out of my comfort zone, or if the uneasy feeling is because I'm actually not being true to myself. How do we navigate through those times?
That's actually a good question. So because you're working with a business coach and you already said it was amazing, right? I would address it with the coach and just talk about, I would bring it up and say, I'm feeling a bit uneasy about this. And because I will tell you, even though that I did a great big change because of the spirit of my business, my brand is now run by Hay House. It's like I've changed my whole way of doing business, etc. I still was very anxious and unsure when I first got into it, right? So I had all these feelings about it because I was being shoved out of my comfort zone. So that uneasy feeling, it was because I didn't really know what I was doing. So it's asking yourself, is it because I don't really know what I'm doing? Or is it not being true to myself? It may just be that you're not being true to your past, right? There's a very different way of seeing things. Your past was a certain way and you're doing something different. So you could be feeling those feelings because this is brand new for you. But to get to the point of it, like I would really just go to the source, which is your coach, and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling and this is what's coming up for me. Can we talk about it? I think that's it. And also another way is you can just pull a card, say, what is my relationship to this information? That really helped me because I literally, we had a business where we had 20 employees. We had a, it was like long-term, growth, etc. And then it was a point where it was like, okay, am I going to just give all this up? Find people jobs, do all these things to streamline things. And man, I was second guessing it. I was like a complete basket case, but thank God I stuck with it because my card kept saying, keep going, this is good. But I was not comfortable. So sometimes when you do things that you aren't, and now I'm so happy I did it. I pushed through that membrane, but I had to have help. I pulled cards. I had a therapist, a business coach also to say, okay, you know what, this is good. And yeah, it takes a minute to get used to something new. So that's my answer.
And I did see Laura in the chat said, pull a card and ask what, when you said, oh, I'll just pull a card.
What is my relationship to this information? Right? So what do I need to know about this information? Is like, well, you're basically asking what my relationship is. In other words, is this for me or is this not for me? So like I had one situation came up with a very lucrative offer before I went with Hay House. And I got very clearly not for you. And I'm like, what's my relationship with this information? It was basically run like the hills and don't even bother. And I was all excited. I was thinking, oh, this sounds really good. I was like, no, it isn't. So, that's why you pull the card. It reflects to you what you might know, but you're refusing to see. So the card pull is always about what do I need to know about this or what's my relationship to this? I hope that was helpful.
Next question is, I am moving back into our construction company with my husband. When you are in a joint business, do you both have a spirit of your business, or do I just connect?
Is my internet unstable? Am I frozen? Are you frozen?
You're not frozen for me.
Okay, everything just froze for me, so I'm just double checking. Okay, great. I know it. I think you said the person was going into a construction business and they wanted to know if their husband would have a different. Is that what you said? A husband might have a different.
Do they have the same spirit of your business or different ones? Does she connect with her?
So Mark and I did this together, right? After I scared myself and did my own spirit of your business you know, before I started teaching, and I was doing so well with my clients, but I've never done it to myself. So when I did it for myself, and then I saw these things that actually scared me, I didn't talk about it for a couple of weeks. And then I said, maybe I could, what does this mean? What am I making it mean? What if it could mean something else? And that's when the magic started happening. So I had Mark do it. I had Mark do the same exercise, and his spirit of his business, he was very clear about what he had to do. Spirit of his business was completely different than mine, but made total sense with what they were suggesting to him, and how it interfaced with what my spirit of the business was telling me to do. Oftentimes you do different jobs too, right? So that you're not actually doing the identical thing. And just as if you were to have a mutual best friend, you would have your own relationship to that friend or employee, for example. Maybe you have a CEO of your company and you both know them, you're the creative, and then your partner is the business end of things, or vice versa. And you both have a relationship to this person who runs the business, but it's very, very different, right? So that's why I found couples also, that or partners, like it doesn't have to just be couples, it's partners. I partnered with you're going to meet her actually, on a book called The Art of Manifesting, and I started a business with someone who was my teacher and then became my partner, because we just decided to make our own version of something. And we have very different spirits of our business, right? So it's like it's really interesting when you do this work and you realize, whoa, mine said this to me and mine said this to me. So wow, how isn't that interesting how the partnership could work? It really is so helpful. So helpful. I love it when two people are together doing stuff, especially if you can get your husband or your partner. I'm sorry, I'm making the assumption, to do it too, like to have some fun with this. I think it'd be very cool.
Yeah, they said it was their husband.
Oh, okay. And the result, listen, the result was the same, but both results for us was identical, but because of his role in our business, he had a different solution for his side of things, and I had a different solution for my side of things, but together they made the perfect solution. Okay. Do we have a couple more? I think we had 7 questions, right? Like, do you have a couple?
I got 2 more.
Okay.
This one was about, in the spiritual mindset shift oracle card reading, the last question was, what am I making this mean? They want to know, what is this?
Oh, I see. This was
Yeah.
the 2 cards before. Yeah. So it's the message that you receive from the cards, right? So the story. Oh, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. This is a really good story. Okay, so because I'm at a stage now where I can actually tell you, because it's all happened now and it's common knowledge, right? So when I did my before we launched this course, I spent quite a few years working this particular program with clients one-on-one. I only worked with founders of companies and did this kind of business strategies, with this process. But I had never done it myself, right? I'm like, I better do it for me to see if I'm going to start teaching this. I'm doing it. So the first thing that happened was I saw this fire being. I had the most gorgeous office, for one thing. I'm like, wow, this is mine. I must be doing well. Anyway, and then I was waiting for the spirit of my business to walk in the door that I expected to be like this, like, I don't know, together being or something interesting. And what happened was this dangerous fire being, kind of like the Ifrits in Middle East, like the jinn. I have no idea why I would have thought of that, right? Anyway, this came in and I got them. I was afraid of it and I thought I did it wrong. And I made it mean that this was dangerous and I can't tell anybody and maybe I shouldn't teach this. Oh my goodness, what is this? And then of course it swirled and swirled and swirled and all of a sudden turned into Idris Elba sitting at the edge of my couch, pretty hot, but whatever. Anyway, but he was the genie in the movie 3,000 Years of Longing. Like, it was the craziest thing. I hadn't thought about that movie like years. And I'm like, what is this? But I still was afraid of it. So I made it mean something, right? What did I make this mean? This experience mean? What am I making it mean? On one hand, I made it mean that it's dangerous. I better not teach it. I did it wrong. There's no way this could be right. What is it telling me to do? It wants me to burn things down. I don't get it. Then I asked it again after I calmed down. Well, else could this mean? Well, it could mean that I should let go, in order to have better growth in a forest, it's called a controlled burn. Like, what is it that you could let go of? Like, what feels heavy to you? What needs to change? And then I was like, well, maybe I could just see it a bit differently. So it was like, what else could this mean? So it took me 2 weeks before I could get to that, where I actually then told Mark, I did this thing, and I've been doing it with my clients, but now I really want to teach it in a workshop, and I want you to do it. Right. And then we both came to the conclusion that there was something that we needed to let go of in order to get to this next level of service. Right. So anyway, and it's what happened. So, if you pull cards, or had an experience with the spirit of your business, like I did, or where you're confused about what does it mean? So then you ask yourself, well, what is this message that I received? Because the message I received, I misinterpreted it. I interpreted it in the moment from fear. And then I went back to it and I went, well, if I could just play with this and be curious about it, then what else could this mean? And so we discover these communications between us and the cards, or us and the spirits of our business, by asking those very simple questions. Well, what am I making this mean? What does it mean to me? What else could this mean? And sometimes you need a few days, like I did. I needed 2 solid weeks, because I was haunted. I was just like, what is happening? And then it happened, and it was scary and phenomenal. So anyway, I hope that was helpful to you guys. What other ways could I interpret this reading? What else could this be? What other ways could I interpret this spirit of my business? What other ways could I interpret this gift or this boardroom? I had also, my boardroom morphed, it changes, right? So mine doesn't stay the same. It adds rooms. All of a sudden I had an art studio. This is before I had decided that I was going to connect back to the art world. I mean, I had started painting again, but line art was something that was just curious for me. But I had this whole thing and I'm like, what am I doing in there? And that was before it happened. So that was very interesting. The more you stick with this, the more you practice this, the more you go over your initial exercises over and over again, like one of our people mentioned in the chat earlier, the more you do it, the deeper you go. I think we have one more, right?
One more question regarding what someone sees in terms of images, symbols, and colors during meditations, and they don't really know where to look for a guide or a reliable website on how to understand what they're seeing.
Right. And you and I talked about that when we were going through the questions. So what I thought was very interesting, and Elizabeth was the one that brought it up, and she says, I want to know what I think first before I Google. Right. And if I'm unclear, but I'm like, what do I think it means? Like, what do I sense about this? So you have to ask your personal question first. Well, what does it mean to me? What does it feel like? Maybe you have colors that you relate to chakras. Maybe you have like sounds that relates to the C scale, which also relate to the chakras, which relate to themes in your life, etc. I mean, it's a cornucopia of symbols and conversations between you and the conscious universe, if you give yourself time to explore them. But I also have 2 things that I go for. So Google spiritual meaning of this thing that you're looking at, right? You could look at dream analysis books too. I don't find them as accurate, to be honest with you. But I do find if you look up the spiritual symbolism of this, and then look at a few of them, and then kind of find the common ground between them. And then the other one is whatsyoursign.com. It's a website. So Elizabeth's going to put it up there. It's what's-your-sign.com. I know the owner of the website. Her name is Avia Vanifica. And this is such a rich website. It's completely run off of donations and charity, and it's really, really valuable information there. But ask yourself first, and then, sometimes I like to open a book at a page and just point my finger and like, or I'll see, or maybe an animal will come and I'm going, geez, I'm not really sure what that is. I'm going to look it up in my spirit animal deck, see what I said there, because I channel this stuff and half the time I don't remember what was written. So it's an interesting relationship between your pictures, symbols, vivid things. Like I had to look up the meaning of fire being like I literally went to town on that one, you know, and the genie, and then yeah, it's very interesting. All right. Should we
That's it
do
for questions.
okay, so let's I pulled a couple cards, right? Just as we were logging on. I like to pull cards for us all. So I thought, you know, when we talk about what do we all need to know about money, right? Because we're really talking about money today. And the next 2 weeks, you're going to have some interesting exercises to explore on your own until our next call. So it was so truthful. Or sometimes I also pull my own card to say, like, what do I need to teach them today? Like, what is it? So here's so good. So the first card I got was Truth Be Told. And that's the card. And the prosperity messages, and this is from Wisdom of the Oracle. And you can get this tiny itty bitty version of it. I think it's on sale now at Hay House. Anyway, are you willing to do whatever it takes to experience the prosperous life you desire? Now, remember, the question is, what do we need to know about the energy of money, right? This is related to the question. Okay? The card changes according to the reflection of the question. It's about money. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to experience the prosperous life you desire? If you want to be an artist, do you make art a priority? Do you want to be a healer? Do you set time aside to learn new things to help you serve? A writer must write, a singer must sing. Be true to your calling because it's an essential way to move forward. It's the only way to move forward. But there is another oracle message here too. It's time to have a look at the real, honest, hard truth about your thoughts, your feelings, and your beliefs, about prosperity, about your relationship to money, to compensation, and to meaningful work. Ask yourself, what is true for me? And you will find the key to abundance. Then I decided, you know what, let's get another card. I never pick a second card because I was like, what else do they need to know? And I got the card Peace. Oh, no, nobody bark. No, sorry, guys. Think or battle. I'm going to make you go outside. Oh, okay. You might have to leave mommy's room. Sorry, guys. I apologize. I will move them out of the room by the time we meditate. Okay. So it says freedom from attachment and radical acceptance. So we have Truth Be Told. We look at our relationship really honestly, like rigorous honestly, you know, looking at our relationship to money. What have we learned about it? You know, what are the circumstances that, you know, we've been taught through, for example, and what do we expect as a result of that? And then it's peace. We need to be